In the name of the Father, and of the Son, and the Holy Spirit. Heavenly Father, we come before you today with open hearts, seeking your wisdom, grace, and love. As we speak with these young women about self-worth, respect, faith, and love, may your presence guide our words and fill the space with your truth. Lord, remind each girl in this room that she is fearfully and wonderfully made in your image. Let her know that her worth is not defined by the world's standards, but by your endless love. Help her to see herself as you see her, strong, beautiful, and cherished beyond measure. Grant us the wisdom to speak with clarity and compassion. May our words inspire confidence, respect, and a deeper trust in you. Let this time be one of encouragement, where hearts are lifted and minds are open to the power of self-respect and the beauty of living in faith. Bless each young woman here today, strengthen her spirit, guard her heart, and fill her with a love that is rooted in you. We ask this in Jesus' name, amen.
Amen.
I'm very excited to introduce our special guest, Candace, a dedicated law enforcement officer and trailblazer in the world of pageantry. As a police officer for the Tempe Police Department, she's committed to serving and protecting her community with strength and compassion. In addition to her role, Candace made history as the first law enforcement officer to compete in the Miss Arizona pageant. USA. Representing Arizona with grace and determination. So please welcome Candace to our campus.
Yay! Is it in there? Good morning. Can you guys hear me okay? Okay. Okay, so I have a quick question. How many of you guys have seen the movie Miss Congeniality? Oh, thank goodness. If you haven't seen it, just pretend so that I don't feel that old, okay? If I had to describe myself, I'd say I'm the real life Miss Congeniality. The only difference is I'm not an undercover FBI agent, but I am a real life police officer, and I was Miss Arizona USA 2023. So I'll give you a little bit more background on who I am. I've been a police officer for 6 years. I started fresh out of college after going to Arizona State University. I love what I do. I'm in patrol. So basically, if you call 911, if you're in Tempe, or you see an officer driving around the streets pulling people over, I don't do that. Trust me. That's what I do. I get to respond to crazy things like homicides and big events like that, all the way down to someone needs directions or they can't find their cat. It's a real life story. So I love my job. Within that role of patrol, I also specialize as a crisis intervention officer and a hostage negotiator for our SWAT team. So I get to basically talk people down from stressful situations for a living, and it's great. It's great to be able to use communication, to be able to resolve things peacefully, and my job is different every day. My office is a patrol car, and I get to drive around and just see the craziest things. So we can have questions at the end if you guys want to hear some fun stories. Other than that, I was Miss Arizona USA 2023. I won in May of 2023 and then got to spend the year going to different events, working with different philanthropic organizations, and of course competing at Miss USA. Like Ann said, I got to be the first police officer to ever compete at that pageant, which was really special because not only was I representing law enforcement, but also our great state of Arizona. So that was really, really incredible for me. When I'm not doing pageants or working as an officer, I am a wife. I got married in October of this last year, and a stepmom to the most beautiful little 4-year-old girl, and a dog mom to my chocolate lab, Bailey. So I've got a very full and fun life, and outside of all of those things, I have the opportunity to speak to several different organizations and schools and groups, and it's really special for me to be here today. I was telling your staff that this is probably the most special speaking engagement that I've had, because I've sat where you guys have sat, and I've dealt with the things that you guys are dealing with. Social media might have changed a little bit and things have changed, but the core root of being a freshman in high school as a female as well has not changed. And so I really empathize with where you're at, and I hope that today some of the experiences that I share with you and the knowledge that I've learned from that can help you as you move forward in high school and the rest of life. So like I said, today's really special, and it's really for two reasons. In 2021, I started an initiative called Yes, She Can. And it was really born out of this idea that the things that we're capable of actually feed our confidence. And the reason that came about was because I was thinking about, what makes me confident? How do I go out every day and tackle bad guys and deal with all of that, and then go onto a stage and wear an evening gown and talk to lots of people? And it's those innate skills that I've learned from being an officer, being able to have life-saving skills and to have, self-defense skills. Those things have really given me confidence. So I created Yes, She Can so I could teach those skills. And through that, the women that I teach those skills to could gain some confidence to go out and conquer whatever it is that they want. So really the foundation of Yes, She Can is confidence and capability. The second reason today is so special is because oftentimes when I am speaking to groups, they're adults. And one of the things that I tell them is that if you don't have a mentor, become her. And so today I'm really living that out because when I was in your seat, I didn't have the opportunity to have someone come and speak to me as a freshman in high school to talk about, uniting as women, as young women specifically, and also just talk about real issues that you guys are dealing with from somebody that's experienced it. So I'm very, very honored and grateful to come back to this space as a mentor now. And I want to encourage you all to think about where you're at now and think about where you'll be in 10 years and that you could be that mentor for other girls. So just know that if there's not a space, you can create it. If there's a gap, you can bridge it. And if there's not a mentor, you can become her. So there's a few things that I want to talk to you about today, and they're all going to stem from a story I'm going to tell you. And it's a story that I've never told anyone. It's something that I've kept in my heart for all these years, but I felt like you guys are the perfect audience to hear it because it occurred when I was your age in your seat. When I was a freshman in high school, I had a core group of me and 3 other girlfriends, and we were best friends. We did everything together. We hung out on the weekends. We hung out at school. We hung out after school, and those were my girls. And one weekend we had a sleepover. It wasn't anything unusual. We played games. We ate a lot of junk food. We didn't really have social media at the time, so we actually talked to each other, which was crazy. But it was a lot of fun. I remember at the end of the night, we went to watch a movie and kind of fall asleep in the living room as you would at a sleepover. I was the first to fall asleep, rookie mistake, I know. And I woke up maybe an hour later and I heard my name. And so I heard my 3 friends talking. And they started talking really bad about me. They were saying horrible things, all the things that they hated about me. And one of the things that stuck was that, Candace is just too much. She's too much. And I remember laying there listening to them for probably 30 minutes, just go on and on about all the things they didn't like about me. And I lay there facing away from them, but I was crying, pretending to sleep so that they wouldn't know that I could hear everything. And then eventually they fell asleep, but I laid awake that entire night and thought about all these things that they had to say and questioned whether they were real. Was that me? Is that who I am? And also heartbroken about the fact that my best friends, the people who know me to my core, thought these things about who I was. So at about 6 a.m., I texted my mom and I was like, can you come pick me up? Because I knew she'd be awake. So I went and sat outside and the screen of the living room was open and it was right next to the front door. So I was sitting on the porch waiting for my mom to get there and I heard that my best friends had woken up and they again started talking about me. I couldn't believe it. I'm like, you spent the entire last night talking and now I'm not there and you're not concerned, where is she? You're just oh my gosh. She's so annoying, or whatever it was. So I left and I was crushed, and those words, "you're too much," stuck with me for my entire life. I'll admit, even today as an adult, I have to actively choose to not believe those things, that you're not too much, right? Somewhere along the line, after years and years of just believing that and letting it affect my friendships and my relationships and the opportunities that it prevented me from, because I thought, well, you can't do that, you're too much. Or you can't be friends with that person, you're too much. Or that friendship or relationship didn't work out because of you. I decided to change my belief on those. I stopped allowing those words to take away those friendships and affect those relationships and prevent me from opportunities and connection and growth. Maybe I couldn't forget what they said, but I could reframe it in my mind. Because being too much is actually how I won Miss Arizona USA. Being too much is how I got the job as a police officer. Being too much is how I landed my husband. And being too much for them was just enough for the right people, for the right opportunities, and for the right relationships. So from that experience, I learned 4 key lessons that I've carried with me to this day. And like I said, I'll never forget those words. I'm able to tell that story exactly how it played out today because it stuck with me so much. But I've allowed it to be reframed in a way that now I can come here and make it positive for you guys. But the first point that I learned from that experience with those friends is how we treat people matters. How we treat our friends matters. How we treat the people around us, our peers, our classmates, how we treat random people in our community, it matters. You don't know what other people are going through. So fast forward, that was freshman year. Now into my sophomore year, I had a bully. Her name was Hannah, and she bullied me relentlessly. I mean, I didn't think that bullying like that existed because it seemed like such a far-fetched old school idea, but it was every day I'd show up to school, I'd sit there and be waiting for class to start, and she'd walk by and say something. When we were at breaks, she would have her group of friends stand around knowing where I would walk and laugh or say something negative towards me. We had maybe one class together, and she would make sure that she used the class time to pass notes about me and that I could see it. And then when I went home, we had Twitter at the time. It wasn't X, and Twitter was like the big social media. She would go on Twitter and she would tweet all these things about me. And people would laugh at it and reply to it and reshare it, and it was awful. I remember coming home and just crying to my mom and thinking, like, I can't go back to that school every single day. I would beg her the next day to not make me go to class or not make me go to school. And eventually I just kind of tucked myself into classrooms and started just doing extra credit during my breaks so that I didn't have to go out there. It was really hard. But what Hannah didn't know is that going home wasn't like a relief for me, because yes, I had this stuff on Twitter, but I also had alcoholism and substance abuse in my house. My father, now a former alcoholic, was pretty mean when he drank, and that's what I went home to, is that. So I tell you guys this story, and I don't want to go into too much detail about any of that, but just think about the things that you're saying to people and the way you're treating people, because all of us in this room have other things going on that nobody knows about, or that maybe nobody knows the extent of, and those things can build up. And so if we have the opportunity to be kind to one another, that's one less thing that each of you have to worry about among the other things that are out of your control, right? Especially at your age. You guys are in the prime of your development. You are very impressionable, and the things that you say stick with people. And while something you say you may not remember, somebody else is going to remember it vividly. I can guarantee that my best friends, former best friends, would have no idea what I was talking about if they heard this story. They wouldn't remember the things that they said about me. They wouldn't remember the exact quote that I'm too much. They would remember we had a sleepover probably, and that it was fun for them, but they wouldn't remember the negative effects it had on me. And so I want you guys to think about that something you say, it may be funny or off the cuff, and you may not think anything of it. You may think it's a joke. You may think, it's not that serious, but somebody will take it and carry that in their heart forever because it changed the way they think about the world, like that did for me. So just be mindful of those things. It's also important, not just now in high school, but in your future too, because as an officer, we actually trained this. If you are not kind to the people that you're interacting with as an officer, if you create a bad experience with law enforcement for someone in the community, whether it be you were disrespectful or dismissive of whatever they were trying to tell you, you were rude or mean, they're gonna remember that. And then the next officer who goes to either help them or contact them if they're kind of doing something wrong, they could get violent. They could write you off and be like, I hate the police, I don't want to deal with you. And we've seen a lot of that in society, I think, where somebody has one bad experience with an officer and the next officer who's genuinely coming to do something good and make an impact doesn't even get a chance to do that because they've already had that bad experience. So just remember the way that you treat people and think about it before you go, because it doesn't just affect you, it doesn't just affect them, it could affect the next person that comes along, it could affect whatever experience those people are in. You guys don't have to be best friends with everyone, and I don't want you guys to get that message mixed up in this. You don't have to, leave your friend group and just be friends with everybody, but you can be kind to everybody, and you certainly do not have to be mean to anybody. The way that we treat others says more about you than it does them, right? I love that quote because it's so true. Whatever you're dealing with on the inside is going to reflect in the way that you treat people. And that leads me to my next point, my next lesson that I learned in my experience, is that the way that we talk to ourselves and the way that we view ourselves and hold ourselves directly affects our decision making, and it matters. If we don't want our friends or our schoolmates or someone on campus, whatever it may be, if you don't want them saying negative things about you, why would you say them to yourself, right? Why would you believe them either? If somebody said something horrible to you or your best friend, would you believe that thing, or would you say, no, that's not true? So we shouldn't be saying those things to ourselves. And that's gonna come back full circle to the first point, right? If we're treating ourselves with kindness, it's so much easier to treat each other with kindness. In the beginning of the discussion with you guys today, I told you how I started the initiative, Yes, She Can. And I want to elaborate kind of on how that started, because it started with a simple list on a piece of paper. I had spent year after year competing for Miss Arizona USA, so I didn't just win off the cuff. It wasn't super easy. I've actually competed in pageants for 12 years, and I started competing for Miss Arizona as soon as I moved here, so 2014. It took me 7 years to finally get to that title. And year after year, I would come back and I would be like, what wasn't working? What did I do wrong? And I would look at the girl who won and I would try to emulate what she did. I would try to be like her. She had, this philanthropy, or she had this cause, she had this career, she spoke like this, she talked about these things, and I would try to be like that. And then I would come back and compete like the way that I learned from the last winner. And then I wouldn't win. And I didn't understand. And I would keep trying and trying and trying. And over the years, I looked back at all the winners and I'm like, this isn't making sense. None of these women look the same. None of them have the same careers. So what is it that I'm missing? And what I realized, that the one thing that they all had in common was that they were authentically confident in themselves. And so my 6th year competing, I decided to change things up. I sat down with a piece of paper and just wrote, who is Candace? What makes you confident? What makes you different? And I came up with a list. I am a sister, I am a friend, I went to college at ASU, and then I broke it down even further. I have the ability to catch bad guys. I know self-defense. I can save someone's life, and I have. I compete in pageants, and I was creating this list of things that make me who I am, but also that give me the confidence to continue to try and be better. And what I realized in that list is that these are things that make me me. Nobody else has this unique combination, and that is what's going to propel me. So I took that with me to Miss Arizona USA in 2022, and for the first time I got first runner-up. And I knew I had figured it out. That being myself and not letting anyone else tell me who I should be, or not trying to be like anyone else, is what allowed me the opportunity to be successful. And I came back the next year and did the same thing, and I won. So the lesson from that is that I had torn myself apart, right? Trying to win, trying to be like the next girl. I tried to shed the things that make me who I am and try to morph into who I thought the judges wanted me to be. Because I told myself lies. I told myself that I wasn't good enough, that I was too much, or that I was not this or that. And what it really was is I'm me, and that's who I need to be, because there's nobody else that's going to do that. So I challenge you guys that in this world of social media and comparison, where we're constantly seeing highlight reels of people and we see this perfect life that people put up, or if you see your friend and it looks like they have it all together, don't look at them and wonder what you should be. Look inward, okay? See the things that you've overcome. See the challenges that you've won over. Celebrate your own wins. Embrace what makes you different and be proud of the skills that you have while working towards obtaining new skills. Because these things are going to challenge us to grow, and they're also going to give us confidence in who we are, because it's from within. When we discover just how capable we are, we can be kinder to ourselves, and when we're kinder to ourselves, we're kinder to others, and we can make better choices. I said at the beginning, the way that we talk to ourselves matters, view ourselves matters, and the way that we think about ourselves matters, and it affects our decision making. Okay, so as you go out today, after we talk about some other things, I just want you to challenge yourself, not only to be kind to the girls around you, because that's really important, but also be kind to yourself. Start making a list if you have to. Do what I did. Get out a piece of paper or go in your phone and write notes and think about the things that make you confident in yourself, and focus on those things rather than things that maybe you don't have that somebody else does, because those are things that are going to bring you those confidence. My third point, and now that we've discussed, how we treat others and how we treat ourselves, you're not always going to be able to control the way other people treat you. And that's super important to remember. You can't control what other people say or do, but you can control how you respond. After I graduated from high school, after dealing with the girls' freshman year and then Hannah's sophomore year and some other issues that came up, my family issues, I was so relieved. I was like, you know what? Once I graduate, when I go to college, it's not going to be like this when I'm in college. And then I said the same thing when I moved to my career. It's not going to be like this when I become a police officer. But the reality is, every stage in life, every chapter in life, we're going to have hardship. And that's what makes life beautiful. It makes us grow. There will always be opinions from others. There will always be people who aren't your people, and situations that don't really work out in your favor. And that is hard. Trust me, I know. I've been there. I've been rejected. I've failed. I've had friendships wither away. I've had relationships end. But I ended up where I am now. So it's important to look forward to the future and know that whatever situation you're in now is not the end for you, right? It's just a piece of the story that's building up to the end. I faced criticism for not following the status quo in high school. I was a cheerleader, I had good grades, I was very social, so on the outside people might think my high school experience was great. But I didn't stand for bullying, and I didn't stand for engaging in things that I knew were wrong. I held my values at the forefront of everything that I did, and people didn't like that. I faced challenges and doubts when I joined a male-dominated field of law enforcement as a very feminine woman. I faced rejection and opposition trying to win Miss Arizona USA because I was a police officer. And I faced backlash and exclusion from police officers because I competed in pageants and won Miss Arizona USA. None of that was easy, but you can only control what you can control. So I could leave the narrative at that and wonder why those things happened to me, or I can turn it around and believe that those things happened for me. I faced challenges and doubts when I joined male-dominated career of law enforcement as a woman, But I proved to myself and to others that you can do anything that you set your mind to. And I received so many messages from women across the world who were inspired to take that next step and go into their future without fear. I faced criticism, yes, for following the status quo in high school, but I maintained my integrity and branched out and met new friends who are now my best friends today. But if I had remained in that social group and just followed the status quo, I don't know that I would have been friends with those people, and I wouldn't have set myself up for the success that I have now. Sure, I faced rejection and opposition trying to win Miss Arizona USA because I was a police officer, but I also learned to be confident in who I am and own my authenticity. I faced backlash and exclusion from police officers when I finally won Miss Arizona USA, but I also gained friends and connections in law enforcement beyond my own agency from all over the country, which have led to opportunities that I may have never had, like being here with you guys today. So I have a question. How will you guys respond when doubt and haters and bullies and obstacles and hardships and challenges, failure and rejection come knocking? Because they will, but you have a choice in that. And I think there's so much freedom when we have choices. You can allow those things to push you down and to stop you from reaching for the things that you want in life and to stop you from going for those friendships. Or you can allow them to propel you into a greater success than you could have ever imagined for yourself. The choice is yours. The final point I learned from my experience in that moment when I was told I was too much was that the decisions that you make right now set the stage for your future. So what do you want your foundation to look like? This one is a big one. You guys are just starting high school. You have so much life ahead of you, but it's also such a critical time in your life because even though you can't see what your future will look like or where you'll go, what college you'll attend, what career you'll have, what your family will look like, the choices that you make now are weaving that picture together for you. Social media is a huge, huge thing right now, and I know it's probably been pressed into you guys so many times, so I don't want to sound like a broken record, but it is important to remember what we're posting on social media and remember that it doesn't just go away anymore. It's there forever. Even if you delete it, there's screenshotting, there's all these different things. So just be mindful about the things that you're posting. I had somebody tell me once that your social media is like your business card. And that's not how it used to be when social media first came up when I was in high school. It was you shared pictures of like your dog and the grass outside. And if you look back at my Instagram, I genuinely believe that you'll see those things. Now it's such a curated thing and we're posting the best parts of ourselves and the fun things we're doing. But it is important to remember that one day your employer may look at that, or an opportunity that you're seeking is going to check your social media and be like, what values does this person represent? Because that's the easiest way to check on people now. So just really think about the things that you post, not only about yourself, but about others, right? It goes back into treating people with kindness. You don't want to be the girl who something gets drug up from the past and you were really mean to somebody on social media and that's your legacy that you left, right? You want to be the girl who is always uplifting and posted a lot of positive things to other people and to yourself. For me, I'm very grateful because I started pageants when I was a sophomore in high school, and they really pressed on social media being, appropriate and representing your values as a person. So I was able to keep it clean enough that when I went to join the police department and they did a full background check and made me sit there while they looked through all my Facebook posts, which was really awful. It wasn't anything crazy, right? I made sure to keep things appropriate and think of it as an outward representation of myself, because that's what it is. We're living in an age where all we do now is share. So just be aware of what you post and know that it's a forever thing, and think about the impact that you want to have with it. I think social media is actually a really powerful tool that we can use, and sometimes we forget that. of how much good we can do with the power of social media. So if you love using it, I think it's great. That's where our generation is going and our world is going. Use it for good. Use it to impact lives. Use it to get that career or that scholarship or that opportunity. Use it to uplift others and even mentor people eventually. You want to use it as your legacy and leave a good reputation, because I truly believe that where you're at now should be treated like when you go to a guest house or you stay like at an Airbnb, right? You want to leave it better than you found it. Leave this seat where you are as freshmen at this high school better than you found it for the next generation. And you can only do that by setting an example, right? Being the people that you wish you had stepping into this seat. I want to do an exercise before we wrap up. I actually attended a workshop recently where we did this, but I'm going to kind of flip it. And I don't know, how many of you guys are on Instagram and watch Reels? Anybody? You can raise your hand. Okay, have you guys seen the recent trend, I guess I could call it, of I had coffee with my younger self? Anyone seen that? Okay, I want to kind of reverse it, right? You guys are young right now, so what I want you to do is you can close your eyes or just like visualize however you can. But I want you to visualize having coffee with your older self. What does she look like? You guys can close your eyes now and start to picture this. When you arrive, does she arrive on time? Does she have a really cool job? Will she be on time? What will she order? You can think about those things, yes. But what things will she have accomplished? What will people say about who she is in her community, in her family, in her friend group? What job field will she have? Will she be a leader? Will she be a pioneer? Will she be an inventor? Will she be a scientist or a police officer? Will she be in government? What college will she have gone to? You can ask her about the memories she made. Did she do well in school? Did she get a scholarship there and not have any student debt coming out of it? Did she get involved in organizations that have propelled her into her career? Did she make an impact? Did she go on to have children? What will you tell her when she thanks you for what you did to help her get her to where she is? Or when she asks you why you did that one thing? You guys can open your eyes. When you envisioned that version of yourself and you think about who you are today, are you setting yourself up to be her? If you're not, that's okay, but now you're thinking about it, right? We want to become the best version of ourselves, and it's such a cheesy and overused saying, but it's so true when you look at it like that. When you close your eyes and you picture that woman, who is she? Because you guys all have the chance right now to become her. You have so much time to build that legacy, but that time will fly. So don't get caught looking back as that woman and wishing you had done something differently, or wishing you had started now, or wishing you had been kinder to those people, so that now when you're in the real world and you might need them for something, that they would actually want to help you. When you guys pictured that girl, was she proud of you? Was she kind to you and to others around you? Were you kind to her? That's also important, right? It goes back to what I was saying about being nice to yourself. Be nice to yourself now and be nice to your future self by setting yourself up for success. I want you to carry that image with you of her. Let her be your fuel that propels you forward as you take those steps to become her. Or maybe you even surpass her. All of you guys have so much potential in you, and I can feel it, I can see it as I look at each one of you. You guys are gonna grow and be accomplished, kind, and intelligent and smart women. But you have to believe that, okay? You have to wake up every day and tell yourself that that's who you're gonna become. You have to set the standard for yourself and for those around you, and I truly believe that when we work together to do that, our community and our world is gonna be such a better place. I need you guys to feel that too, okay? That is all I have for you guys.
You can stand right in the middle.
In the middle, okay. I'm gonna squeeze in with you guys.